Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Andy Nguyen and this is my show, I guess. Today I'm going to be talking about how I use credit cards to get discounted tickets or free travel through the use of sign-up bonuses. Basically what I'm going to be talking about today is I just sign up for credit cards, I meet the minimum spend, get the sign-up bonus, and then I sock drawer the credit card, I just put it away, and then I get another card and I keep cycling through this, and I never carry a balance month to month. I always pay off my credit card bills as soon as a statement posts. This way I can maximize the sign-up bonuses, travel for free, and really just to beat the banks at the game that they set up. And the game is they want you to sign up for a credit card, they want you to carry a balance, they want you to pay interest, and if you can manage your money and manage your finances well, if you can do all that, you can travel for free and enjoy the splendors of the world without having to spend too much cash. I gave you the introduction, but you need to understand a few terms before you can really dive into the topic. All right, let's start with the first term, which is the word churning. It's not churning butter, it is credit card churning. So when you sign up for a credit card, you get a sign-up bonus. That's how they entice you to sign up for the credit card in the first place. And this bonus can range from a pack of water or like a soda from Walmart, very bad deal, or you can get a few $100s or a lot of miles and points from other credit card providers. So what you can do is you can cycle the same cards over and over and get the bonuses over and over. So the idea with travel hacking is normally when you want to travel, you have to pay for a ticket. You have to pay for hotels, and that costs money, especially for a business class or first class tickets. Those cost a lot of money. So with travel hacking, you use these credit card sign-up bonuses, you pull the points and miles together, and you spend it all on travel. So what happens is you earn your bonus by putting spend on the cards, but you don't have to pay out of pocket as much or at all for travel. Typically, it's just paying for mile or paying for the gas or some kind of fees just to kind of clear the transaction. Sign-up bonuses. A sign-up bonus, like I said, is when a credit card gives you some kind of like one-time only offer for new card members to sign up for the card, make a minimum spend on the card, like use the card, and they'll give you points, miles, cash, or whatever. Another term is cash back. So a lot of cards all cards have 1% cash back or 1% points. That is, for every dollar you spend, you earn 1 cent. So that 1 cent can be cashed out, or they'll give you 1 mile for every dollar you spend. It typically costs a lot of miles to pay for flights, but they are more or less 1 mile is equal to 1 cent. Points and miles are interchangeable. Points are what points are what banks use to define their currency. So if you have a lot of points, 1 cent per point, same thing as a mile, you can cash these out for travel and hotels. Credit score. So credit score is just your credit worthiness. If you have a high credit score, that means you've paid off all your bills, you don't have any debt, you don't have a lot of outstanding credit balance. You're just like a good and trustworthy person for a bank to lend their money to. So if you have a high credit score, you're more likely to get approved for credit cards. If you have a low credit score, you have to work a little bit harder to get these applications through, and sometimes you have to call in and then kind of explain to them that you can handle the spend that goes on the card. And of course, there's debt and interest. Debt is how much money you owe. If you're going to do this credit card churning or travel hacking game, I do not condone or suggest that you hold debt on the cards, because the interest rates on credit cards are really high. The lowest I've ever seen on a special deal would be 11%, but it can go up to like 40%. And that means if you have a balance that carries on to the next statement, you're going to pay 40% more on the amount that you owe. So if you owe $1,000, now you have to pay $1,400 over the next month instead of the $1,000 in the first place. So that is really wasteful, and you're going to be in a bad spot, because if you hold a lot of debt, your credit score goes down also. And then there's interest. As I mentioned, the interest rate is just how much you pay on top of the balance that you carry on a card. So really don't keep a balance. Don't pay into the interest, because it's really expensive and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And this last word I should have mentioned in the beginning is called manufactured spending. It sounds like money laundering, because you get a credit card and then instead of just spending it on regular things, if you have opened a lot of credit cards, not everyone can spend $10,000 in 3 months unless you have a really big business. So there are different ways. I don't know any current ways to do it, but there are ways to essentially buy gift cards or convert, use your credit card to purchase something that ends up being cash that goes back to your bank. So you end up not having to purchase anything. You just let that money float a little bit. It's called MS for short, but that's where things get a little hairy. It's more risky. But what I'm going to talk about today, is that a long introduction, is just how to use credit cards regularly to earn points to travel. So the idea is simple. You sign up for a credit card, you meet the minimum spend, their sign-up offer, their welcome offer, and then you collect the points that they give you, and then you go on to the next card. The number one question people ask me when I mention this is, isn't it bad to have a lot of credit cards? Yes and no. It's bad if you can't manage your finances because credit cards are not paper money. So you don't really realize when you're spending it, just swipe, or just typing in the number into the computer. And you can easily rack up a lot of credit card debt, and it's a pretty slippery slope once you fall down that. But I'm not only a proponent of credit card churning and travel hacking, I'm also a big supporter of personal finance, setting a budget, keeping to that budget, and not spending on frivolous things. So to start, you need to have a good credit score to get credit cards. If you don't have a good credit score, there are some entry-level cards that you can get to build up your credit. The lowest level of entry-level card is a secured credit card, where they don't give you a crazy bonus. They don't give you a sign-up bonus. They don't give you a high limit. You essentially just give the bank cash, let's say $500, and that becomes your credit limit. And you just spend on that card and then pay it off month to month. And after a year, they can convert that to a regular credit card. I suggest this for people starting out, like students or people that have bad credit or people that have no credit history. This is how I started because I ended up having identity theft at a young age, so I had to deal with a really bad credit history and a really low credit score. So I did this, and after I got a regular credit card and had some kind of credit history, I started with the entry-level cards, which I will recommend the Chase Freedom and the Discover It. These cards are really easy to get approved for. They don't require like a 700 plus credit score. They are cyclical 5% rotating category credit cards. So one quarter, maybe they'll have like Amazon and Walmart as 5% categories. So if you use that card, you use it at Walmart, you get a 5% bonus on the points you get back. Normally you just get 1%, like I mentioned before, but now you get 5%. And it's a great deal because most cards only give you 2 to 3%, but the 5% is only in that quarter. So in the 3 months of the year, it applies to those categories, so you got to keep track of that, spend those cards there. And the Chase Freedom and the Discover It are competitor cards from competitor banks, so I carry both of them at different times because they'll try to one-up each other. Sometimes they'll double up. So sometimes they'll have grocery stores that have 5%, they both have it. So you can maximize it by just constantly using your card. And the 5% is only up to a limit. It's typically $1,500. So after you spend $1,500 in that category, you will no longer get the 5% bonus. You get knocked down to 1%. The Discover card and the Chase card are different because the Chase earns Chase Ultimate Rewards points, whereas the Discover card earns cash back. So the Chase Ultimate Rewards points can be transferred to these other travel cards. And with the travel cards, you can change these points into miles. So rather than just cashing out a 1 cent per point, you can change 1 cent to 1 mile. And this typically can yield better results and better value because you can get more travel with miles than you could per cent. So sometimes it takes less miles than dollars to get a certain ticket. So after you get the entry-level cards, there's a few other cards by Citibank and American Express, like the American Express Everyday, but I typically recommend just the Chase Freedom and the Discover It. And also the Chase Freedom has a sign-up bonus. I think it ranges from $100 to $200. So after you spend, I think it's like $1,000, it's pretty low. I would keep those points safe and not cash them out. If you get a travel card down the line, you can really move into the travel hacking game. So after you get through the entry-level cards and after you have 1 or 2 years of credit history, you can apply for a Chase Sapphire Preferred, which is one of the lower-level travel cards I suggest. Every bank will have their own flavors of travel cards. Bank of America has a travel card. American Express has a few travel cards. I think they have it with Delta and stuff. But I like the Chase points, the Chase Ultimate Rewards, because of the flexibility. If I get the Chase Sapphire Preferred that I'm going to talk about in a moment, I can transfer it to airlines. So the Chase Sapphire Preferred, when I started, I thought it was like a really high card, like a really difficult card to get. It is, because you need some good history. But this card has an annual fee. So with the entry-level cards and the lower bonus cards, they don't have any annual fees. So year to year, it's free to use the card. The the Chase Sapphire Preferred, when you sign up for the card, after the first year, then you typically waive the annual fee for the first year. After the first year, they'll charge you an annual fee of $95. And you have to make sure you can do the math to see if the cards are worth it for you, because with an annual fee comes better perks. So the Chase Sapphire Preferred gives you 2% cash back. It's more than the 1% that the Chase gets everywhere. So there's value there. If you eat out a lot, it'd be good to get that card. But the most important thing about the Chase Sapphire Preferred is that you can convert the Chase Ultimate Rewards points that you may have collected on the Chase Freedom, if you have that card. You can push it into the Sapphire Preferred and use the travel portal through the Chase Sapphire Preferred card on the chase.com website to convert those Ultimate Rewards points to miles. This can help you get much more discounts on flights because it'll cost less miles typically for a flight, or you can collect them all into like American Airlines or United and get an international flight that way. And the other thing about the Chase Sapphire Preferred I neglected to mention is that there's a really good sign-up bonus. They're giving 60,000 points when you sign up, and if you spend 4,000 in the first 3 months, it is a little daunting. If your landlord will allow you to pay rent with credit card, or you have big expenses coming up like car repairs or maybe books for school, this can be knocked down pretty easily. Or what I usually do is when I go out to eat, this card has 2% back on restaurants. I offer to pay with my card and then have everyone Venmo me or give me cash. So that way I can get the points, I can get the sign up. And with the Sapphire Preferred, when you redeem the points, you get a 25% bonus. So that's 60,000 points, you get another 25% on top of that. Instead of just cashing out at $600, 60,000 is $600, you can get $750 worth of travel by booking through the travel portal through Chase. You may end up getting more expensive flights and hotels, you may not. I would always double check using Google Flights and other travel search engines to compare and contrast if you're getting the best deal with Chase or not. So sometimes it may be cheaper to pay cash through another website, like searching through Google Flights directly with the airline, than it is to get this 50% bonus if it ends up that the Chase portal is more expensive. So don't take anything as gospel. Always double check, do your homework. Like I said, I prefer the Chase Ultimate Rewards because it's the most flexible, but you can also sign up for cards through like the Citi American Airlines card. So you can get like 60,000 points, 40,000 points for each card. You can do the Delta cards, the United cards, Hawaiian Airlines, Alaska Airlines, the Bank of America. There's a lot of options. So if you know you're going to travel somewhere, I would back calculate by figuring out what credit cards have bonuses that can help you get the miles to get there faster. Rather than having to pay, let's say, $1,000 flight, you can just put regular spend. So let's say you have to spend $3,000 for a credit card sign-up bonus. This can be $3,000 of your regular spend, paying rent, paying food, paying, things, fees, car registration, insurance, and then you can earn the miles that would get you the flight to where you want to go. And for me, that's a much better deal because rather than just spending cash straight out, I'm getting double value out of my money. So look around, do the back calculations, figure out what cards will serve you. Now we get up to the high-end cards. So the high-end cards, the annual fees, they always have annual fees. So it can range from like the $100-ish, but it can go up to $300, $400, $500. So typically, these premium travel cards, they have a global entry TSA pre-check. So those two services cost about $100. That'll become free with these cards that have a $500 annual fee. So when you go pay for that, for the screening and whatever to get approved for TSA pre-check or global entry, they'll reimburse your $100 fee. And on top of that, they typically have some kind of travel credit. I know American Express, they used to give you a travel credit that you could cash out for gift cards, but I feel like that has been like fixed since. So it's just for travel incidentals. It's just for like drinks on a plane, and then baggage fees and transfer fees and some like other fees, but not the flight itself and not the hotel itself. I don't count it as cash back. So if it's a $500 annual fee and I get $100 off, I view TSA pre-check and global entry as $100 off because I would want that anyway, especially if you're traveling a lot. It really speeds up the process of getting in and out of airports. But in terms of the rest of it, if it doesn't apply to something I use regularly, if I can't get a gift card out of it, or if it doesn't apply to just regular travel expenses, it's hard to justify. So that's why I don't really use the American Express premium cards like the American Express Platinum and Business Platinum, I go with the Chase Sapphire Reserve because that one gives you the $100 credit. It gives you access to lounges. They both give you access to lounges, by the way. They give you $300 that can be used for any kind of travel expense. It can be used for tolls. It can be used for parking. It can be used for hotels, airlines, air flights, and it just automatically gets deducted from your credit card statement. So if you put a qualified purchase, it would just get deducted. And I view that straight as cash because I travel every year. Even if it's not international travel, I'll have some kind of hotel fee, some kind of parking fee. So there's a $450 annual fee. So I view that as just $150 because $300 travel credit is given to the individual every calendar year. And this is a direct upgrade from the Chase Sapphire Preferred. So you either pick the Preferred or the Reserve. You don't want to have both because a lot of the benefits are similar. The big thing is that the Chase Sapphire Reserve gives you 50% bonus rather than 25% bonus on your points when booking through the portal. So if you travel a lot, Chase Sapphire Reserve. If you eat a lot, Chase Sapphire Reserve. When I am very interested in getting credit cards for travel and getting the bonuses and collecting miles and points of travel, I will kind of go back to back. Every time you apply for a credit card, you will have a hit to your credit. So I don't do a lot of it all the time. So maybe one every few months. And I'll take like a 10 or 15 point hit on my credit, but it comes back up. It's just for the hard inquiry. So with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, when it started, when they first announced it, it was giving you 100,000 points. So that is $1,000, and it can be redeemed for 1,500. So that annual fee of $450 was peanuts in comparison. And at that time, it was giving you a $300 travel credit on every rolling calendar year. So if you applied in the middle of the year, you can get a travel credit, use it, and by January, you got another travel credit. So you got $1,500 plus $600 of value. So that's $1,600 and just paying $450 annual fee. So at that point, it was crazy. I think that's $1,150. Yeah, $1,150 just profit as long as you're gonna travel that year. Of course, I travel. I've been doing this method of travel hacking and credit card churning for a while, and I've been able to travel to New York. I've been able to travel to Seattle, Portland, Thailand, Japan, all through miles and points. I've taken all those trips without having to really pay like the full ticket price. And it's crazy because when I grew up, I grew up very lower middle class. I didn't have a lot of money, so the idea of traveling every year was wild to me. I thought only rich people did it. So with all this credit cards and signing up for credit cards, you have to be very aware of your finances. I wouldn't sign up for a credit card if I didn't know I had that spend coming in. So right now I'm planning for a wedding and I know there's a lot of expenses that come along with it, like the deposits, paying all the vendors, purchasing things. In the next year, I'm going to be having a lot of expenses. So rather than just getting that 1 to 5% cash back depending, most likely just 1 to 2%, I'd rather get a credit card, put it on the credit card, pay it off in cash, and then actually get the bonuses, take those bonuses, transfer it to my honeymoon, and use it there. But when I don't have a lot of expenses, I'm very wary of even just getting a card with a $4,000 spend. So in 3 months, spending $4,000, if you can't pay rent, that's a lot of money. If you're not going out to eat with friends, if you don't have expenses coming up. So in terms of personal finance, I would really make sure you know how much you're spending per month, how much you're spending on groceries, how much you're spending on gas, how much you're spending on bills of other bills. Some bills don't take credit cards, so you gotta be aware of that. And really see if you're gonna be purchasing things, let's say it's Christmas time, you'll have more expenses, so you can maybe sign up for a credit card then. But if you're living pretty minimally and living below your means and not eating out all the time, it may be hard to meet a $4,000 spend without the help of someone else. When I started this game, I would ask my girlfriend's mom or my mom and my dad to help me use the cards by giving them the card to spend somewhere, and then they can like swipe it, they pay me back, and every bit helps. Yeah, so even though you can get a lot of bonuses and get free miles and points essentially by playing this game, I would never overextend and spend more than what you have budgeted to get a credit card sign-up bonus. It's not worth it. It's a dangerous game because the credit card companies, they know, and the banks, they know that you're more likely to miss a payment and pay interest on something than you would be to pay everything off every single statement. So be very careful. At the end of the day, it is finance and it is expenses, so you really have to be aware of what you're spending, how much you're bringing in, how much you're setting aside for savings, how much you're setting aside for the future, and how much you can actually spend. So don't overextend to try to earn travel because the risk is not worth the reward at that point. I want to talk a little bit about the manufactured spending that I talked about earlier. So back then, one of the original manufactured spending methods that I heard about that I missed out on was the age of the mint coin. I believe you could just buy quarters at the same value as a quarter, just buy boxes of quarters, and you can just go take those boxes of quarters and deposit at the bank with no loss. So you can spend $1,000, buy $1,000 of quarters, take the postman would hate you, or the UPS guy would hate you or girl. They drop it off at your house, you take that box, you take it to the bank, then they hate you for having to deposit all that, and you don't pay any fees on this expense. So instead of having to spend out of your pocket on things, you can just manufacture or make the spending and get credit card sign-up bonuses like that. And back then, you could apply for multiple credit cards at the same time because the systems were so slow and archaic back then that people did what's called an app-o-rama. Exactly how it sounds. It's applying for credit cards in a, I don't know what the word rama means, but what people will do is have a bunch of tabs open, 5 to 10 different credit card applications, fill it out, hit submit back to back on the computer, and the credit card companies are so slow, the applications would get counted as one, and the banks would realize that someone's applying for so many cards, and they could just have all these cards come in at the same time. They could just go buy quarters and just reap thousands and thousands of points for a pretty minimal effort. It was crazy. And after that, there came the age of the reloadable debit card. So this was the red bird, the blue bird. There are all these birds. The red bird was through Target, the blue bird was through Walmart. So you use your credit card to buy a piece of plastic that has a value of $500 and you pay a few bucks. And then you put that onto a debit card and they use that debit card to pay off your credit card bill. And then you just laundered money. Just kidding. It's not laundering money, but actually it kind of is. The reason it sounds kind of fishy is because that this is the same method that criminals use to actually launder money. So what you're doing is you're using legitimate money, but doing something that illegitimate people do. So it gets kind of hairy, and depending on how many debit cards you load at the same time, you may be asked to fill out a form. Sometimes the part-time minimum wage employees at Walmart are like, heck no, I don't want to touch that. That sounds sketchy. I'm gonna talk to my manager, and the manager's obviously gonna be like, heck no, and they'll just ask you to leave. You're not doing anything illegal, so the police aren't gonna come get you and arrest you or anything, but it is inconvenient. And that's the age when I jumped in. I missed the red bird, but I was doing bluebird for a little bit, and then instead of buying gift cards, you could also buy cashier's checks, and there's all these little methods that don't exist anymore because the banks figured it out and put all these limits. And especially the credit card companies, if you're doing this kind of like manufactured spending, they can close your account. They can also ban you, and in some instances, if you're doing too much of this fishy stuff, they'll just cut off all your cards that you have with them. So I don't know if it's worth it anymore. These days, it's really a slow game now. You don't really need to hit credit card back to back like you used to. So the benefits are not as prevalent as before, but at the same time, it's less stressful because you just need to focus on having a credit card active every few months and put your regular spending on it, and you can end up traveling to countries like Thailand and Japan and Spain for free. Like, it's not really difficult to do. It's just kind of daunting to get up to speed and learn and know what is allowed and what isn't allowed. And the difficulty with this game is kind of held close to the chest. So people that know the tricks, they don't want to just share the tricks to everyone else because it's human nature to just ruin good things. So when people find out about something that they can exploit in some kind of way, it's not illegal, but they're just gonna do it like crazy and try to squeeze as much juice out of the lemon as possible and just ruin it for everyone else. And that happens all the time. To summarize this video, you can use credit cards, use them in a smart way, manage your finances, and don't extend yourself beyond your means. Pay off your statement balances, get the sign-up bonuses, rinse and repeat, and you can travel, not just coach. Like if you're paying for your own flights, you end up paying coach. But if you do this game consistently over time, you can end up getting business class flights, first class flights. You can have a bed and champagne while you fly. Like, it's crazy. Some of these people are way more into it than I am, and they fly way nicer than I do. I'm just happy to get a free coach flight to another country once a year. I'm good with that. Keep it simple. Don't run into trouble with banks. But yeah, that's all there is to it. So if you have any questions about any of this, I know I talked about it a lot. I know it's been a really wild roller coaster of information and emotions, but hopefully you found that entertaining, informative. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, thanks for sticking around. You must have a lot of time if you're still around, you didn't like the video. But please comment below with any questions. I always respond. If you see any of my other videos, I'm always chit-chatting. Please subscribe if you like this kind of content. Let me know if you like this kind of content because I'm exploring different things. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.